While you were sleeping on January 3rd, the biggest money heist in human history went down in Venezuela. Except, it wasn't a heist. No headlines. No breaking news alerts. No trending hashtags. By the time you woke up and scrolled Instagram, more wealth had moved than the entire GDP of China and Europe combined. 3 helicopters touched down in Caracas, Venezuela. 15 minutes later, Nicolás Maduro was in custody, and $17.3 trillion just changed hands. $17.3 trillion. That's more money than China and the entire European Union make in a whole year put together. The biggest chunk of wealth that's ever moved at once in human history. And honestly, most people had zero idea it even happened. I sure didn't see it trending. Did you? Quick history lesson. Venezuela in the 1970s was rich. Oil everywhere, making money hand over fist. Caracas was basically Dubai before Dubai was Dubai. There was this saying, "Ta barato, dame dos, it's cheap, give me 2. That was the vibe. Then they did what every country does when they hit the jackpot. Spent everything. And then spent money they didn't even have yet. Fast forward to the 2000s. Hugo Chavez comes in. Super charismatic, big promises. He kicks out all the foreign oil companies and puts his friends in charge instead. You can probably see where this is going. By 2020, total nightmare. Inflation hit 1,000,000%. People wheeling shopping carts full of cash just to buy bread. Doctors left to drive Uber in Colombia because it paid better. Families digging through garbage for food. But here's the crazy part. All those massive oil reserves, still sitting there. Underground. Untouched. $17.3 trillion worth. The biggest oil stash on planet Earth. And some very smart, very patient people started thinking, what if we could get our hands on that? So how do you actually move $17.3 trillion dollars? Turns out, you barely even need to stand up from your desk. Step 1, oil futures. Months before those helicopters showed up, hedge funds were quietly buying Venezuelan oil futures for basically pocket change. Nobody wanted them, because Venezuela was a disaster. Until suddenly, they very much weren't. Step 2, sovereign bonds. Venezuela owed a tion of money. Their bonds were worthless. But Wall Street was buying them up for 3 cents on the dollar. Then boom, regime change. Suddenly those bonds have an actual government that might pay people back. Those 3-cent bets? Overnight they're worth 50, 60, sometimes 80 cents. Some people literally made 50 times their money in 3 months. Step 3, physical reserves. The actual oil fields got reorganized in 48 hours. Those big international companies kicked out in 2007, they're back with brand new contracts. No heist, no action movie stuff. Just spreadsheets and people who read the room really well. Here's what blows my mind. Almost nobody noticed. This should have been everywhere, but it wasn't. And here's why. Wealth this big doesn't move in obvious ways. It happens in stuff like futures contracts, equity swaps, debt restructuring, all boring stuff. So when you check the news, you saw some political thing happened in Venezuela. What you didn't see, the single biggest money shuffle in human history happening inside Excel files and trading platforms. It's like if you were playing Monopoly, went to grab a snack, and came back to find out someone now owns literally every property. And you're just like, wait, when did that happen? By the time anyone pieced it together, it was done. Game over. Energy markets kind of lost their minds. In a good way, mostly. Oil prices stabilized, then dropped. Why? The world suddenly had access to the planet's biggest oil reserve again. China. Hold up. We loaned Venezuela billions. What do you mean there's new management? Beijing was not happy. Started negotiating new deals. Much worse deals than before. Europe, finally. Desperate for energy since cutting ties with Russia. Venezuelan oil potentially coming by summer. Politicians doing victory dances. Russia, Putin gave a dramatic speech about Western imperialism. Then, just sold more oil to India and moved on. Wall Street energy stocks went crazy. Hedge funds that saw this coming made 50x their investment in 1 quarter. Just a normal Friday where helicopters create instant billionaires. Let's put this in perspective. 2008 financial crisis, $15 trillion over several years. We all watched it happen night after night. 1997 Asian financial crisis, $2 trillion. Devastating, but way smaller. Venezuela 2026, 17.3 trillion in hours. Bigger than both combined. Faster than anything in history. And basically invisible. This is what wealth transfers look like now. Silent. Digital. and brutal if you're on the wrong side. Now let's talk about the actual people living there. Your average Venezuelan? Still struggling. Regime change didn't wave a magic wand and fix decades of broken everything. Sure, there's hope. The new government's making promises, companies are coming back, food's slowly appearing, but that $17.3 trillion? Almost none goes to the people who actually suffered. The families eating from garbage, the doctors who had to leave. Meanwhile, in Manhattan and London and Dubai, the people who bought those worthless bonds for 3 cents, they're literally buying islands. That's how it always works. The people suffering never get the payout. The people watching from a distance with spreadsheets, they become generationally wealthy. It's genuinely messed up, but it's also not new. But I don't own oil futures. Why should I care? Totally fair. Here's why. Gas prices. When the world's oil supply shifts this hard, you'll feel it at the pump. Probably cheaper gas this time. Your retirement account got a 401k? It probably has energy stocks. Those just moved. Your money just moved too. Currency values. When $17 trillion moves, currencies adjust. If you travel or buy stuff internationally, this touched you. Global power. This much money moving shifts the entire balance of power. That affects trade, diplomacy, where your country stands. Everything's connected. You don't need to work on Wall Street to feel it when the financial ground shakes. Quick rundown of who won and lost. USA. Friendly oil-rich partner in their backyard. Less dependent on Middle East oil. Stronger against China and Russia. Europe. Energy security exactly when needed. Way less dependent on Russia. China. Loses strategic ally and guaranteed oil. Has to rethink their South America strategy. South America, mixed bag. Some see hope. Others see a warning, get it together or someone else will. Russia loses influence. Even more isolated. The whole game board just got flipped. What do we learn? Lesson 1. The biggest changes almost never look dramatic while happening. These things happen behind closed doors, in contracts you'll never see. Lesson 2. Someone always sees it coming. Somebody bought those bonds for 3 cents because they were paying attention. Lesson 3. Regular people always pay the highest price. This didn't fix Venezuela's suffering. The money went somewhere else. Lesson 4. Everything's connected. When $17 trillion moves in South America, it touches your gas prices, savings, currency, job. So yeah, January 3rd, 2026. 3 helicopters. 15 minutes. $17.3 trillion. The biggest wealth transfer in history went down while most of us were sleeping. This is just how things work now. Wealth doesn't move through wars anymore. It moves through contracts, markets, and fiber optic cables. Wars are fought with trading terminals instead of tanks. The people who get this, who pay attention and see the patterns, they're the ones who win. You don't need to be a billionaire to understand this stuff. But you do need to look past the headlines and ask, what's actually happening? Who really benefits? Where's the money really going? Because the next massive wealth transfer is already being set up. Right now. Somewhere. The question is, are you going to see it coming this time? Or are you going to wake up one morning, check your phone, and realize, oh, it already happened. Again, if this genuinely changed how you see global finance, hit that like button and subscribe. I break down the real stories behind the headlines so you can understand what's actually shaping our world.